here's Brody Brazil.
Well, okay, you clicked on the video. You're here for some answers. You want to know what Major League Baseball team is set to travel the most this summer with the 2023 regular season. I've got the answers. I've got the teams that will also travel the least in just a second. But I feel like all of this needs to be set up with some personal experience. And I'm not a player by any means, but I've experienced this. I've seen it firsthand. How difficult travel is on big league teams. How difficult the season is. 162 games in something like 180 days. And you're constantly going from coast to coast and time zone to time zone. All of this would be fatiguing enough if you weren't playing baseball games, if you were just, doing a business trip, traveling for work. But oh yeah, the players are also physically exerting themselves at least 5, if not 6 and 7 days a week after week and month after month, basically April till October or beyond. So I just want to say that travel miles, as discussed here, they literally do take their toll on the players. I know people see private jets, the buses, the charters to get you from hotel to the airport to the stadium. And sure, the teams do take a lot of the travel hassle for you and I. Like, how do you get to the airport? How do you get your seat on the plane? None of that is a concern. I mean, the travel, the hotels, all the accommodations for a Major League ball player, it truly is first class. I mean, they literally never even touch their luggage once they get to the ballpark. It ends up in the next city for them. So I do have to say, they do it the right way, and they get a lot of help along the way, but it still takes its toll. So you definitely need to understand that. You also need to understand that travel is a lot different for every Major League Baseball team this season because of the new schedule format, which is different in that teams used to play their divisional opponents around 19 times. Now, it's only 13 times apiece. So much less based on geography, more actually based on interleague play. That's the biggest difference on where those games have gone. Less division games, a lot more interleague games. You used to play 20 teams or 20 games against teams from the other league. Now, every American League team is going to play 46 interleague games against National League teams and vice versa. The intra-league games, essentially like the AL West versus the AL East, that doesn't change dramatically. It's only reduced by 2. But the biggest difference, as you can see here on the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen, less divisional games, a lot more interleague games for every team. Basically, the new thing to remember is this. Every team in baseball this season plays every other team this season at least in one series. And so you can already kind of gauge who might travel the most. And if you thought West Coast teams would top the list, well, you're absolutely right. And how about this? Kind of by a long margin, the Oakland A's are going to travel the most miles this season in the air. 51,527 air miles when it's all said and done by October. And the Mariners are 2,500 miles beyond that. I take it back, 1,500 miles beyond that. The Giants are even a few behind them. Padres, Angels. I mean, you get to the Angels, which travel the 5th most, and they are 8,000 behind the A's. So Oakland, by a significant margin, is going to travel the most in baseball this season. And that's because you got to go all the way out to Florida to face the Marlins. I don't know if there's an Atlanta trip or if Atlanta comes here. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but you understand that being out west, everything is spaced out more. Now you're traveling out east to get those interleague games in, and you're facing the Angels and the Mariners less times in the season. So you are going to accumulate some more air miles. Top 5 traveling teams, all from the state of California, or the Mariners, obviously, in the state of Washington. So not necessarily a surprise, but here might be the biggest takeaway of the video. Look at the contrast of 51,000 miles versus the Brewers, who will travel the fewest miles this season. Now, geographically, where Milwaukee is at, it obviously makes sense. They're close to a lot of Midwest teams. They're close to a lot of East Coast teams. They're not terribly far from the West Coast. It's not like a full flight coast to coast, but you understand they're traveling half the miles that the Oakland A's will this season. And again, in the end, half the miles, half the hours, flown in the air. It all does help a team like Milwaukee, and it to some degree, it goes against the Oakland A's. I mean, they've done this before, playing a day game on a Sunday, a morning game on a Sunday in Tampa, and then as soon as that's done, a 6-hour flight all the way across the country back to Oakland, land late on Sunday night, and then you have a Monday night home game. So you have to transition, time shift a couple hours after you've been out east for a week or so. It's difficult, but you can see here the Brewers, Tigers, White Sox, Guardians, and Reds, all teams from that kind of cluster, of the Midwest and the upper Midwest there. That is the area that travels the fewest miles in baseball and to some degree benefits, right? There's a lot of nights where they can be home after playing a road morning game somewhere out east. They're back probably by dinner time, sleeping in their own beds versus a team like the A's who've had a long day of travel. So there you go. You saw the most miles. You saw the fewest miles. Travel in Major League Baseball, it's heavy. And it's not to say that, other leagues and sports and teams, they don't travel a lot. It's just that baseball is a long season and you mix in the games every day with travel. Like there's not rarely a day where it's just travel, an off day, so to speak. Like in hockey, there's an off day, but it's a travel day. Baseball, you rarely ever have that. Usually a travel day is a day where you've also already played a game. So there's your answer. Which team travels the most? Which team travels the least? Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Thumbs up on this video if you liked it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that I can see you next time.